The Media Center for the Centenary celebrations of China's Communist Party will open on Saturday. It will be based in the Beijing Media Center Hotel. Reporters from home and abroad will have access to news conferences, interviews, technical services at the center. An unofficial website for the center has also been launched in both Chinese and English, with update schedules for news conferences, interviews and visits. Right now, we continue our special series Centenary and Beyond to mark 100 years since the founding of the Communist Party of China. We look back over the party's history and mission with our reporters bringing you stories from the past and present, and we get insights from experts on what drives the party in fulfilling its present mission. Today, we look at how the party has worked to promote global win-win cooperation. Now, from economic ties with Europe through the China-Europe Railway Express to the country's efforts in promoting the equitable global distribution of COVID vaccines, the party is committed to building a community with a shared future for mankind. Today we talk to Xu Xinchen in southwest China's Chongqing and Wu Guoxiu in Beijing. Xu Xinchen is at the site of an important railway from China to Europe, and Wu Guoxiu is at the Sinovac biotech company, which produces COVID-19 vaccines. I'll start with you, Xinchen, who is now at Chongqing. I believe had plenty of hot pots there and chilies. But what do you have for us on the China Railway Express there?
Absolutely, Chongqing is very famous for its hot pot and chili and Sichuan cuisine, etc. And China, as you have mentioned, envisions a world that focuses on being fair, adequate, and just. Openness, inclusiveness, mutual respect, and love are the core values. And while that sounds pretty philosophical and abstract, there are concrete measures done to build a community with a shared future. I'm here in Chongqing, and right behind me we can see this huge train head. This is a very special train. I want to get off the train first to show our viewers a better look about this place that I'm at. First, Chongqing. Chongqing is a very important pathway to link southwest China to Europe, and also it's the home to a very important train route, the China Railway Express. So in 2020, despite COVID interruptions, China Railway Express Chongqing still delivered some 1,500 fully loaded train carriages, and that's amounted to a total volume worth over $7 billion, ranking Chongqing top here in China. And among those cargoes also includes life-saving medical supplies to aid COVID. And that's a very busy transport happening right here. And to give our viewers a better understanding and a better perspective of how large this logistics center I'm currently at is, and let's roll some aerial footage and take a look.
This is the Chongqing International Logistics Hub Park, also called Chongqing Logistics City. It is home to the 0-kilometer mark, the departure point of China Railway Express Chongqing. The first China Railway Express train set off from here in March 2011, traveling to Germany's Duisburg. Over the past decade, China Railway Express has doubled in size every year. By the end of the first quarter of 2021, almost 40,000 trains carrying over 3 million containers reached over 150 cities around the world. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, China Railway Express continues to operate, transporting medical supplies that are essential for fighting the virus to countries around the world. Known by some as the Steel Caravan, China Railway Express injects new energy along the routes it travels while providing benefits to the people.
So this year marks the 100th year of founding of the Communist Party of China, and also it marks the 10th anniversary of China Railway Express. So as I have mentioned, it's very busy, it has become busier every day, And that means a lot of work needs to be put into keep these train routes afloat. All those crane operators that we are seeing here at the logistics centers are fully automatic, but we'll also have those train operators and a very powerful computer system. So look what I have right here. So this is a live feed of how busy this place is. So basically it tracks the whole movement of the train. We're going to see when the cargo is loaded and when they are going to arrive, and also all the spots in between. So origin tracking is very important for international trade, and right here we're seeing it all clear and transparent. As I mentioned earlier, the first train set off, the first China Railway Express train set off from Chongqing to Germany's Duisburg 10 years ago, and now CGTN also has reporters on the ground and followed back the latest development over there. And take a look.
We're here in Duisburg, Germany, a city at the confluence of the Rhine and Ruhr rivers. This town came up around steel and coal production, but as those industries have fallen by the wayside, this city of Duisburg has found a second calling. It's become a European logistics hub. It's the world's biggest inland port, and it's capitalized on something few other hubs in Europe have, a non-stop railroad line to China. And while many of the containers are carrying electronics, children's toys, and clothes on the way here, they're starting to fill up on the way back too, with European goods like French wines and German cars. We've been speaking to those involved in growing this trade partnership, and they've told us it's become really important for this region's economy.
Duisburg has faced a huge and tremendous change in the economic structure. For we used to be much more coal and steel industry, and therefore we are always on the search for new business opportunities and of course for the potential of new jobs. And I think logistics as itself is a very important branch, and with this special linkage to China, it is a more or less global question. We are trying to promote the Silk Road as an opportunity not only for Duisburg but for the whole region, for North Rhine-Westphalia, and of course also for Germany.
Now, European trade with China reached record levels in 2020. Exports of EU goods increased by 2.2% and imports went up 5.6%. There is a trade imbalance, but with more German and European firms using this train line to get goods to China, that's beginning to even out. Billions of dollars in subsidies from Beijing have really improved travel time along the route, which now averages between 14 and 16 days. But the pandemic has not reduced the service on this line. In fact, everyone we've spoken to says even more trains are arriving every day compared to a year ago. A schedule expansion was planned for the coming months, but a worldwide shipping container shortage has put those plans on hold. Ryan Thompson, CGTN, Duisburg.
So definitely we can see the perks of rail transport that is more cost saving and time efficient. And also it's not just about China exporting its products, but also about importing more products from Europe to meet the increasing demand right here in China. So a community with a shared future was defined by Chinese President Xi Jinping, also the leader of the country's Communist Party, as mankind by living in the same global village within the time and space where history and reality meet, has increasingly emerged as a community with a shared future in which everyone, this is a good part, everyone has in himself a little bit of others. And more to that, as Chongqing sits along the Yangtze River bank, it also serves as an important hub along the country's Maritime Silk Road, a very important part of the Belt and Road Initiative, which further connects the world. And also we know the Belt and Road offers alternative transportation means on top of the already crowded like sea routes, for example, the Strait of Malacca, or expensive air freight. So, and my colleagues, Sun Tianyuan, now takes a look at the Belt and Road Initiative and also trace back the history of the development of Belt and Road from the Asian Silk Road. And take a look. When Emperor Wu of the Han Dynasty sent his special envoys to the tribes and kingdoms in the western regions some 2,000 years ago, the initial plan was to find allies to fight the Huns, the horse-riding nomads who constantly raided his empire. As envoys were exchanged,
trade and political ties grew stronger, and a massive network linking multiple civilizations and kingdoms was established, later known as the Silk Road. The term was first introduced by German geographer Ferdinand von Richthofen in 1877 to describe the trade routes. Chang'an, the central capital of China in the Han and Tang dynasties, is where the Silk Road started in the east. The routes extended around 7,000 kilometers across some of the world's most formidable landscapes throughout Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and Europe. Merchants along the routes traded a dazzling variety of products, from tea, silk, porcelain, to spices, glassware, and gemstones. It wasn't just trade that flourished, but ideas in science and innovation that would change the world. Commodities such as paper and gunpowder, both invented by the Chinese during the Han Dynasty, were among the most traded items back then. Although it's been over 600 years since the routes were used for international trade, goods are being shipped via freight trains at speeds the ancient merchants couldn't have imagined. The Silk Road's lasting impact on commerce and culture still resonates today, like the camel bells of the caravans on the economic belt, reigning 2,000 years ago.
Now, China's cooperation with the world is not only reflected in the economic exchanges through the Belt and Road Initiative, but also in the global fight against the pandemic, of course. China has donated and exported vaccines to over 90 countries. Over 400 million doses have been supplied overseas. And 2 domestic vaccines, one from the state-owned Sinopharm and another from Sinovac Biotech, have obtained emergency use authorization from the World Health Organization. And our reporter Wu Guoxiu is now at the Sinovac Biotech company in Beijing. Hello there, Guoxiu. Earlier we reported that China, along with other Belt and Road partners, signed an initiative calling for a better distribution of COVID-19 vaccines. And China has always been willing to help and has always been seeing the vaccines as public good. The question is, how is the production of the vaccines going on there?
Sonia, I'm here on the production line Sinovac for COVID-19 vaccines. Just to make sure that this is the packaging line, so things are exposed to natural conditions. So the company told me that I can speak to you without wearing a mask. Let me show you something first. See the QR code here? Each case has a QR code. If you scan it, you can have all the information you need about this COVID-19 jab. The only ID number of the jab, where and when it's produced, which company produced it. And when they leave this factory, you can trace the jab through this QR code, whether it's in China or in other countries of the world. Vaccines born here in this factory have been sent to over 40 countries around the world. Actually, this is only one of the many procedures a jab will go through at this packing line. Back there behind me, altogether, this line needs 8 workers. At the beginning, one person will put all the small bottles onto the beginning of the line. That position is very demanding. He has to be very accurate about the amount and all the information of the doses. Then a second person takes care of the labeling. The labels are in different languages according to the destination countries. Then the labeled bottles will be put into small cases together with instruction books. All of them will be in different languages according to the destination. And they will randomly check every 5 cases from every 100 to check the accuracy of the packing. Like this one in my hand, 10 cases in a pack, 1 case for 2 people, just to save the space and easy for delivery. In front of me, I see a screen. There are the information about the doses, the batch number, production date, and expiry date. All this information will be printed onto the bigger boxes by that mechanical arm. That mechanical arm over there will finish the printing and pile the boxes high at the tail of the production line and this packaging line. Actually, there are over 20 such packaging lines here in Sinovac. I still remember last July when I became the first reporter to enter this facility. The first packaging line was only in textiles, and now you can see that they have over 20 of them, and they are operating 24 hours a day. They can produce over 10 million doses in a single day, and they have been sent to over 40 countries around the world. On June 1st, this COVID-19 jab has become the second Chinese COVID jab that has been put on the emergency list, EUL, the emergency using list of the World Health Organization, or EUL. So what does that mean for Sinovac, and how is the company guaranteeing to meet the increasing global demand? I'm glad to be joined by Helen Yang, the Chief Business Officer of Sinovac. Yeah. Hello, Helen. Glad to talk to you again. What opportunities have the EUL brought to Sinovac?
Right, EUL actually is the 47th approval we obtained. I think many countries rely on WHO's assessment for the vaccine. So I think this will speed up the process for us to help more countries in a faster speed.
Somebody told me this today is also the 1-year anniversary of the first emergency approval that Sinovac vaccine received from China, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then what is the production capacity looking in terms of meeting the increasing global demand?
Right. Actually, after the approval last year, the same day last year, until now, we have supplied over 900 million doses. And we aim to supply another 2 billion doses in the second half.
2 billion in the second half. That's
right.
Quite a lot and quite impressive increasing of the production capacity. So I wonder what factors have made Sinovac achieve what it has today in terms of vaccines?
Sure. I think the first most important one is our experience. Actually, in the past 20 years, Sinovac has already had several chances of developing the vaccines to address newly emerged diseases. Like 20 years ago, the SARS vaccine, and then we developed avian flu vaccine.
Yeah.
So I think these experiences allow us to make the decision quickly and to set the right goal and to organize all the resources very fast.
Right.
And then I think we also need to thank for the fast-growing economy in China, as well as the capability of the entire industrialization. So we can have access to all the key resources to put up the facility and to run the production.
And also you cooperate with international partners for the clinical researchers, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the global partnership in this COVID-19 vaccine combat is very important in this time.
Okay, thank you, Helen. Thank you for your
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time. China is one of the front runners of COVID-19 vaccines in the world. Beijing has made a solemn promise to the world that COVID-19 vaccines produced in China are global public goods. China has sent free vaccines to over 80 developing countries in urgent need and exported to over 40 countries so far. Recently, Chinese President Xi Jinping also promised that China will provide more vaccines to the best of its ability. So Chinese government, scientists, and companies are joining in on the efforts to meet the promise to the world. Back to you, Dongning.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Wu Guoxiu, reporting from the Sinovac biotech company in Beijing. Now, Kenya's Mombasa to Nairobi Railway, built and financed by China, is a key infrastructure project in the country's modernization drive. And a key pillar of the project launched in 2017 was the transfer of the knowledge. And CGTN's Robert Nagila caught up with one of the staff members who has benefited from this exchange.
28-year-old Emmanuel Otieno is a train conductor on Kenya's Standard Gauge rail line operating between the capital Nairobi and the coastal city Mombasa. Otieno is responsible for a team of 13 staff on board the train.
I usually receive the train in the morning at 7. I have to check all my facilities in the coach. I check the emergency harness, I take the fire extinguishers, the train number cards, and also my team. I have to ensure that everything is in place for them. I assign them their duties.
As the train departs the station, Otieno is now responsible for over 1,000 passengers.
Our passengers are our first priority. That is the one thing that we learned from our training. So we have to ensure that our passengers are comfortable. In case there's any issues inside the train, then it's my duty to ensure that it is well resolved.
He interacts with passengers, answering their questions and ensuring their comfort.
The maximum speed is 120 kilometers.
Oh.
Yeah, for the cargo is 80 kilometers.
Emmanuel's worked as a train conductor for the past 4 years. Taught at the Railway Training Institute in Nairobi by Chinese instructors, he says he's carried on parts of his training to his daily life.
That is something that I've also adopted in my social life. So yeah, time management, that is the best thing I can say I learned from the Chinese.
A first-class ticket costs $30, while a second-class seat is $10. For passengers, the SGR has transformed how they travel. It's safe, fast and efficient.
The reception is very, very positive from the passengers. They enjoy the service on board. They find it very, very satisfactory.
At the next train stop, a passenger is running late, but makes it just in time.
I just bought.
The train must run on schedule.
The cooperation between Kenya and Chinese, it has really been of a good impact, especially to us as the youths. We have gained a lot of technical experience with them during those 4 years.
For many travelers, the SGR is more than just transport. It's an experience.
We see a lot of animals there, the zebras, we see gazelles, the elephants. So we also see good animals there, the monkeys, even I can see some right now.
500 kilometers later, the journey is over.
6 hours after we left Nairobi, we're now in the coastal city of Mombasa. And this is not even the express train. Hard to believe, not too long ago, the same journey took between 12 and 15 hours. Robert McGill, CGTN, Mombasa, Kenya.
For more on that, we are now joined by Mr. Wang Xinsong, an Associate Professor from the School of Social Development and Public Policy under the Beijing Normal University. Thank you very much, Professor Wang, for joining us. Well, first of all, let's get a little understanding of the concept, build a community with a shared future for mankind, for humankind, with a specific example being, as we earlier reported, the China and some other Belt and Road partners signed initiative calling for a better distribution of vaccines. And China has been seeing the vaccine as a public good and is willing to help with the better distribution and also international cooperation indeed. That's a good example of that concept. But in general, overall, build a community with a shared future for all mankind is still abstract. Can you explain it more?
Well, yeah, it's indeed a very strong mission, and I think the mission is rooted in a few changes in the world development. And first of all, I think the world has become ever more interconnected and interdependent. Whereas several decades ago, the world was mainly concerned of security issues. And now we are facing a lot of non-traditional threats, such as the infectious diseases, climate change, inequality, and so on and so forth. And all of these would need cooperation of the world. Now, what about the existing international institutions? Aren't they doing the job of containing the challenges? Of course they are. But one also has to acknowledge the fact that many of the institutions have been less compatible with the changing reality because they were built many decades ago. So that's where China comes in. China wants to help revise and update the existing institutions instead of replacing it. So Belt and Road Initiative is compatible with the United Nations SDGs, and the existing institutions like BRICS Bank, like AIIB, are also compatible with the World Bank and other financial institutions. Because after all, Chinese development norms share with the international norms.
So it stresses on cooperation rather than building up an organization or with power or something. It's just facilitating public good or cooperation with other countries. But you mentioned international cooperation is the aim of this concept and the way of doing that as well. But multilateralism, unilateralism is quite prevailing in today's world, and the pandemic makes things even worse. So how challenging is that to achieving the shared community?
Oh yeah, several major challenges. I think internationally, many nation states are facing domestic issues like economic stagnation, inequality, loss of jobs, etc. So that makes the rise of populism and nationalism possible, which then further prevents nations from cooperating with each other. And globally, I think due to the lack of national regulation of globalization, we have seen the rise of plutocracy and global division of the rich and the poor. All of that also makes nations feel that when they look at each other as potential adversaries instead of potential partners. And of course, China also faces some domestic issues as well. We are in this process of economic updating. We have the problems of aging and also social inequality and all that. So that means China, on the one hand, is trying to make contributions to international development, but at the same time, we are also tackling our domestic issues. But fortunately, these two goals are organically and complementing each other, because the international community will continue to enjoy the better performance of Chinese economy in terms of consumer needs and market opportunities. At the same time, all these factors are contributing and driving the further economic performance of China and its transition.
All right, thank you very much for the very clear explanation here. Associate Professor from the School of Social Development Public Policy under Beijing Normal University, Professor Wang Xinseng. Thank you very much. Now, since the Communist Party of China founded the People's Republic, the country has rapidly developed, growing from an impoverished nation to the world's second largest economy. So how has China's development path affected the rest of the world? Let's hear what the country's citizens have to say.
China's 5G technology will lead the world in terms of internet development.
China has lifted so many people out of poverty and improved the quality of people's lives. This is a great contribution to the world.
China just launched the Shenzhou 12 spacecraft, where it has said that the current International Space Station might retire in 2024, so I think China's space station is of great significance to the whole world.
China has a vast market, the capital investments from any country in the world that wants to obtain the return it dreams of can definitely find opportunities in China.
China had sent COVID-19 vaccines to a lot of countries, which has also revealed the development of China's scientific research in modern medicine.
China has demonstrated a different path for development to the whole world. After World War II, many countries were learning from the US and the West, but their development has slowed down since the 1980s because of the middle-income trap. But how will China avoid this trap? We have a different development path with distinct Chinese characteristics.
China is playing a more important role in maintaining world peace. For example, you can see Chinese peacekeepers in the Gulf of Aden, in South Sudan. This is China's responsibility as a major country in the world.
The hybrid rice cultivated by Yuan Longping has helped many countries in Southeast Asia and Africa to alleviate the problem of famine.
Many countries have joined the Belt and Road Initiative proposed by China and are developing together with China.
China has invested a lot to build roads and bridges in African countries to improve their infrastructure.
Well, in our last episode of this special series tomorrow, we'll look at China's transformation from a backwater to global economic powerhouse as seen in the city of Shanghai and Hainan province under the leadership of the Communist Party of China. So stay tuned to CGTN, and you can follow us on Weibo, Facebook and Twitter for more on the party centenary.